moment to wake up, because I've got a lovely guest coming up for you. And of course, it just wouldn't be the Debbie McGee show if we didn't have a little bit of magic every now and again. Well, we have it quite often. And so I'm absolutely thrilled to be starting this morning with a world-renowned magician who has wowed audiences across not just this country, which has included shows for Prince Charles, who says that Romany, the Diva of Magic, is nothing short of genius. But she's thrilled audiences all around the world. And she joins me in the studio today to talk about her book, Spun Into Gold. Yes, Spun Into Gold, and the secret life of a female magician, which details her incredible true life story. And what I love about it, it's alongside a host of inspirational and motivational quotes. So morning, Romany.
Good morning, Debbie.
Well, I will say that I haven't read the book cover to cover, but I've read big chunks of it, and I absolutely loved it. And what I really love about it is that it is a great story, your life story, but all these inspiring quotes and how you got yourself through hard times. So for those of my listeners that don't know Romany, the Diva of Magic, how would you describe yourself?
Well, I mean, there's two of me. There's the me now, Sunday morning, just up and had my breakfast. And there's this character that I've got, which is feathers and diamonds, and who really is on Broadway shows and cruising 6-star cruises and always wear high heels, whereas I've got flats on, you know.
Yes.
And she does a show where she does lots of magic, but she wants the audience to remember that they're the magicians of their own lives, and also to be swept up in this story. So the idea is that while the people are watching the show, it's like they're having a child's bedtime story, and they forget all their problems, and they're just like, yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah. And you could. What I love about magic is you can hear the audience gasp.
Yeah.
I think it's you don't often hear that if you're a singer or something, but with magic, that's the thing.
And if you put the house lights up just a little bit, you can see the people in the front row go, and their jaws drop. Yeah. And that's the best thing, isn't it?
It really is. So, I mean, I've seen your act, so I know how good it is. And I also saw it many years ago, which you probably might not know. And I've seen the development, which is what I love. So the book, how did that come about, writing your life story?
It's interesting. You know, we need to practice as magicians, and it was August, and I live in Brighton, and I was practising but feeling very hard done by because all my friends were at the beach, and I had a life coach, and I was moaning about magic, and he said, well, what would you be doing if you didn't do magic? And out of my mouth came the words, I'd like to write. I'd like to get up in the morning and write. And he went, well, why don't you? And I said, well, no one's going to pay me to write. He said, how do you know? And it wasn't about being paid. I just decided the next morning, I read this book called Big Magic, which is by Liz Gilbert.
Yes.
And in this, she says, do your dream, write your book, no matter what, whether you're too old, too fat, too whatever, do it. And when I finished reading that book, I got up in the morning and wrote 82,000 words in 4 months, non-stop. I didn't do any magic, but by the end of it, I had some gigs and I hadn't practiced for 4 months. So I had to get back to magic. But it just came rushing out. But I was loving telling the story, and as I told the story, I thought this could maybe help people, and so far I think it has, because that's the letters I'm getting back.
I'm sure it has. So let's talk a little bit about your life and where you were born and your parents and how you got into this weird world of magic.
Well, I had a very ordinary, I was born in Ilford in East London. My parents were, East Enders, very working class, and so my mother gave me piano lessons and dancing lessons and all that. But when it came to being a performer, the idea was that you got a good job and go to university. But also, I really wanted to be a ballerina. So I wanted to be you, Debbie, really. I did. I wanted to be a ballerina. But so I was in Carousel when I was 15. And which is a wonderful show. Yes. And I was Louise and dancing. But I'm quite a sturdy build. So when I was in Louise, I stopped eating. I was 15 and I just ate satsumas. I could make satsumas last all day. And I got very thin and I had lovely cheekbones. But then after that, I piled the weight back on again, which is what happens if you stop eating. So by 16 or 17, I was like 12 stone. So then I couldn't go to dancing school. And I couldn't be an actress because I was just this really chunky teenager, a very miserable, chunky teenager. So I went to university, and I can tell you, but the rest is in the book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We don't want to give, and then how it all led on to, I don't know, I don't want to give anything away from the book either, or too much away. But, there are some lovely stories, and, and also, you speak different languages, and you've lived in Hamburg and you've lived in Italy. So I think we could give our listeners a little glimpse of that, and perhaps a couple of memories of very special magic shows you've done. So I'm going to play another song, and then we'll come back and talk about that. So here's... Welcome back, everybody. It's Debbie McGee on BBC Radio Berkshire, talking to the Diva of Magic, Romany. So we were talking about how you came from a normal background, ended up going to university, studying languages.
I did English literature and Italian.
Yeah. So what fantastic.
Yeah.
So that came in very useful later on, because I know from the book, so you have to buy it to find out, which is called Spun Into Gold. So how did you actually get into magic then? Because you were teaching, weren't you?
Well, I just had a year in Italy,
Yes.
but I was working for British Telecom.
All right.
And so I was a salesperson, but I went to an evening class at City Lit in London, and I saw Michael Dow, who's a great magician. And when I saw a magic class, I just loved it. And so I went with him to a magic festival, and I was his assistant. And I jumped out of a box, and I was just so happy. And I just loved magic. But there it was. I met my German juggler husband, ex-husband, and married a German juggler, and became a street performer and went around the world. Yeah.
And I was interested in the book because a lot of English people don't know what a Spiegel Tent is. And Spiegel Zelts, that is Zelt's tent in German.
Yeah.
Because that in the book I was thinking, that's interesting.
Spiegel Tent.
Yeah. So and you worked in quite a few of those, didn't you?
Well, I saw one, fell in love with it, and then I worked for them in months, and and I love them. Yeah.
And in Europe, the Spiegel tents host usually a very, very high quality dinner, usually like a feast of 5 or 7 courses by one of the top chefs in the country, don't they?
Right, yeah.
And then they have the show that's intermingled with the dinner, and it's so special. And a Spiegel tent outside, it still looks better than a marquee or anything, because it's much more what would you say, secure?
Yes.
It's more sturdy and
mirrors and
so when
chandeliers.
When you walk in, it's like walking into the Café Royal or something, with all these gilt-edged mirrors and beautifully laid tables. I don't know why it hasn't taken off here. It's
there's one
Europe.
in the Edinburgh Festival.
Yes,
and
that's
the
the
Brighton Festival.
Yes, but they only come for festivals, don't they? We don't get them sort of in London.
Yeah, it'd be nice,
on the
wouldn't
South
it?
Bank would be a great place.
Yeah, was there one once? I thought there was, but we need more of them.
Right. Yeah. So well, we're going to talk more because actually we need to get some travel. But stories like this are fascinating. So let's get some travel, shall we? My guest in the studio is Romany, who is a lady magician, and she's swept the board to win nearly every single award possible for stage magic. She won the first prize at the World Magic Seminar in Las Vegas, first prize in Spain, first prize in stage magic was also she was the Magic Circle Stage Magician of the Year. So we're not talking to an amateur here, and I've been loving hearing your story. So sort of to wrap it all up, let's just pick, because there's so many fantastic stories in the book about who you've done shows for around the world, but there's a lovely one about Prince Charles. So and you, I was thinking I should describe really your act, because it's quite zany, isn't it? Is that how we describe you?
I'd say quirky.
Yes, it's quite quirky. And so how did you come to do a performance for Prince Charles?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? I didn't do anything to deserve it. I just got a phone call out of the blue saying, would you come to the palace? And I said, yes, but who for? And they said Prince Charles and his friends. And I said, of course, yes. And I showed up. They built me a stage, and there was all these golden chairs. And I knew, the important people, because the golden chairs had arms. 2 chairs had arms. Oh. And I did half an hour, and then afterwards met them. And it was a very easy show. I knew that everyone would be very nice. It wasn't like a corporate show or something.
No, they weren't going to be drunk and shouting.
I get tied up in my show by 2 men.
Yes.
And before I went on, they said, you've got to use Prince Charles's personal policeman and his head of security. I was like, oh no. Yeah. But I did use them. Obviously, I can get out of any rope ties. But Yeah, it's brilliant fun.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how exciting to get that phone call and say, come to the palace. Were you nervous?
I wasn't nervous at all, but after I got that phone call, put it down, I thought, how surreal is my life? And I jumped around the living room for a bit.
And of course, Prince Charles is a member of the Magic Circle,
Yeah.
so he does adore magic. Well, wonderful to talk to you, Romany. And there's so much more we could have gone on about, but you'll have to buy the book to find out. It's called Spun Into Gold. You can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it really is a good read, and not just for girls. This is a great book, I think, for any of you who've got grandsons or sons that are thinking of doing magic for a living, of how you got there and now have a very, very successful career. So thank you so much for getting up so early on a Sunday.
Thank you, Debbie. It's been such fun.
Coming in to talk to us. So that's Romany.